Well, welcome to Get Good. Tonight we will be discussing our horror stories, some of our own personal stories, and some that we have heard through the grapevine, whether it be whether it be sprouts not wanting to listen to people and take advice, or these super elitists who scream at people and expect them to know their job by the second dungeon in the game. Okay. I will. I'm Commander Kate, and I have Bellator Lucius here with me as well. And we will just get start talking about the show here shortly. Do you have any opening remarks, PJ?
Yes, you're horrible at ignoring stuff.
I know.
It
I was
literally
reading
says
I was
ignore
like,
this,
"Ugh."
Kane.
Dude, I just got done being sick, and I'm getting sick again. I just woke up from a nap. Leave me alone.
Oh wow.
That
okay.
happened.
All right. Well, yeah. I was just writing a couple extra notes, and since I can't edit the doc, the Got Good doc, I'm leaving notes in party chat. So yeah, we've got a bunch of horror stories, a bunch of it's mostly anecdotal. I mean, you might hear it, you might hear about our experience and say, oh, I've had the exact opposite of that, or that didn't happen to me. That's fine. But these things really happen, and uh, that's not to say we're gonna shit on the community or other players or ourselves. Well, actually, we probably will shit on ourselves, but yeah, it's not like everyone's sucks or is bad. It's just sometimes things happen. Like I think I'm gonna open. Well, okay. So I'm a healer main, right? Do you want to just get right into this?
Oh yeah, let's just dig right into the meat of this.
All right. So I'm a healer main, and I'm going to start with how many times I go, "Oops, cleric stance," and usually, usually it's not a problem because I'm not the main healer. I'm usually a scholar, um, and on occasion, however, I will cleric stance for a tank buster. So you'll get the shield ahead of time. I think I've done this to you before, Kane. You'll get the shield, but the shield will be for like 500 HP. Basically useless.
Oh yes, I've gotten those many times. Oh, that's a tank buster. Oh, that's what that is.
I also remember if Dallas, if you ever hear this, I remember in A8S during the ads phase, you specifically called out my I think I deployed a 700 HP shield because I was in cleric stance, and suffice to say that was difficult to recover from. I mean, I think we wiped that run for other reasons, but yeah, just catching up on AOE heals because of a cleric stance is always fun to do. And then if I'm the main healer, if I'm playing Astro when we're farming something, unless we're really farming and just beating the crap out of something, that may get you killed.
Oh yes, absolutely. So when I initially started playing this game, I was Gladiator Paladin main. I had no idea what the hell it was. And then I get my job stone and everything, all that fun stuff. And then I forget to turn on my damn tank stance going into I think it was Circus Tower. And they were wanting me to main tank it because I'd never been in there before. It's like, all right, I got this, no problem. So I run in there, pull Cilia or whatever her damn name is, without tank stance on. Literally half a second later, it's gone, and the damn boss is chasing all of our healers around the entire arena. I'm trying to provoke it, not figuring out what in the world is going on, until one of my friends tells me, hey, you idiot, you left your shield oath off. I was like, well, that will do it. We ended up wiping. It was great. Good times. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I laughed about it. Other people, not so much. It's very humorous at that point in time. And then there was, let's see, there was a time I was running Tamtera Deepcroft with a Sprout tank, and I was going in as my white mage, helping him learn everything, and he just did not want to listen to me. He didn't want to do any type of aggro rotation, didn't want to pop flash, he didn't want to do anything at all. And then he got pissed off at me and said, "You don't pay my sub, you can't tell me how to play." Okay. All right, well then, whenever the rest of us die because you don't want to listen, don't get upset. TJ.
Sorry, I was just
Did you
saying
meet?
something.
Oh no, you're fine.
Yeah, no. What were you talking about? Was it Void Ark? Weeping City? No, I'm trying to think of um you doing shit in Crystal
The Crystal
Towers.
Towers.
Yes, that one.
Yes. Because that was Circus Tower, like a couple weeks after I had gotten my first 50, my Paladin to 50, they had just removed the weekly limit on the gear drops from there. So, yeah, that was fun. That was a whole lot of fun. That's still by far one of my
I,
favorite 24-man raids.
I don't even think you were a I don't even think you were a tank at the one I was remembering. I think you were a ninja. You
Uh
just
huh.
pulled the boss and then you ran out of the room.
Yeah. No, that's one of my favorite things to do. I do that with every class I go into. I mean, there are times where I like to troll people and just have some fun.
Yeah.
Like, there's another group of friends that I have in the game. They had two separate groups of 8 people going into Weeping City, all without their job stones on.
Those were
So
fun
they all
runs.
went in there as their base class.
Yeah. Those are great runs. So that's
the
actually a mix of a horror story slash just trolling in general. Which I think did we do that again in Weeping City?
No, we did it in Void Ark.
Oh yes, Void Ark.
Yes,
uh yeah.
that was good times. Good times.
Yeah. So what
And
yeah, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Oh no, you're good.
I was gonna say, so one of the reasons, and I was actually one of the things I'm looking at on on my screen here is one of the reasons why I want to talk about this as well, and we picked it up was it's kind of there's been a couple threads on Reddit. One in particular comes to mind, but you've always got the threads where you see stuff like the good old excuse of you don't pay my sub, I play how I want kind of thing, and how players or people run into players like that, especially in Duty
Hmm.
Finder, as well as mentors. Now mentors I think is going to be kind of a big topic because I don't think we really talked about it too much ever on our show, and it came and went, and it's not really a big deal right now. Like people like the mentor roulette thing is kind of the craze is kind of over. The people who really went hardcore to do it over and over again so they can get that pretty awesome mount actually. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, it is
Um,
amazing.
do we have anyone on this server that has it?
I don't know, to be perfectly honest with you. I haven't really checked. I know there was one person in Japan that had gotten it a couple months ago, and that was the last I had seen or heard of anything from it.
Yeah, so that's basically a prime example of how the mentor thing came and went, and it didn't really do anything other than one kind of get us excited for a little bit to see what came with the system, um, and then the mounts, which is pretty sweet because it doesn't scale down to your character size, and on the same hand, it doesn't scale up. So on a Rogadin, it looks fairly normal size, but as a Lalafell, that thing is massive.
Right.
and it's a two-person seater. So just imagine two. I think the picture was two Lalafels on it. Um, but with that out of the way, the mentor system, at least talking about it, has really died down. Other than occasionally threads on Reddit where people complain about about mentors in general, and I think it's a completely valid complaint because um, the only time really so you'll see me, for instance. I'm a mentor. I think you're a mentor. You'll only see me with the mentor icon when either I am doing the mentor roulette because it's actually really good in terms of if you're doing it for lore. It's sometimes you'll hit mentor roulette and you'll get like Ifrit normal mode for story. That's the easiest 10 or 20 lore ever. I forgot how much it was, but it's the easiest lore ever. And sometimes you'll get Aurum Veil though, and that just sucks. But the other time you'll see me as a mentor is if I am actively promoting crafting and gathering related stuff, either events or part of Lucis Works, where we had our half dozen people working together to level up and crank out stuff. And currently, right now, the fruits of that labor is we have what, three or four, maybe five capable crafters that cover every single specialist and every single craft.
Yep, absolutely. And then I'm actually still working on getting my botanist to
Oh,
60. So,
and gathering too. Yeah, we have everything.
yes.
You need to get that up there. Yeah, finish that up. But we have all the craft gatherers as well. So yeah, it's a good system. But so that's what I'm doing mentor roulette for, or that's what I have it for. But other than that, I don't put the crown on because I don't I don't normally go out of my way to help people, to like teach people things. Like if I put up a party finder, I might do that just to point out that, we're teaching kind of. Actually, that might be a good idea if you're gonna do, I'm gonna actually make myself do this. Whenever I put up a party finder where we teach something, like when we went and we were um, doing A4S, and that's a learning party, I'm gonna put up the mentor icon just to show that that's the kind of mentality we've got for the party.
That works perfect. That is actually a really good idea. I mean, the only time I really ever rock the mentor crown is when I'm doing PvE stuff, like running dungeons or raids or stuff like that. I generally will go out of my way to help Sprouts, or if someone specifically says, "Hey, I'm new to, tanking. I'm new to Paladin. I'm new to Dark Knight. I'm new to Ninja. I'm new to this class or this class." If I know something about it, I will generally go out of my way to help them, just so that way they've got some type of insight and they can be taught halfway decently versus just kind of going at it by themselves and trying to figure it out alone.
Yeah, it's it's definitely one of those things. It's kind of like it's related to PvP where it's there, but you're not really going to see it unless you go out of your way to see it or out of your way to enjoy it, really. Because some people enjoy doing mentor related things because they're just friendly people and like to do that. And some people use it as a tool. Like for instance, I'm going to be honest. When I use mentor roulette, I'm doing it for the lore most of the time. Sometimes I'll want to help people, or I feel like I'm in the mood if I'm bored and I want to find people. But I'll usually just party find that, or just talk to people in person or one on one. So really, long story short, man, this kind of was long winded. Was that mentor roulette or anything mentor related has unfortunately kind of taken a backseat to everything else, and the initial experience many people have with it is just bad. Like people see bad mentors, mentors who either say the wrong thing or um, are just abusive and or will just do things that are just flat out not what a mentor should be doing. Like people just disconnecting because the party sucks, or they feel like the party sucks because they don't know the mechanic, or getting something they don't want to do, and it's like, hey, like getting Odin as in mentor roulette sucks. but you gotta tough it out. And on top, I mean, it's a pretty fun fight when synced, but sometimes you get stuff like Ifrit story mode, super easy lore. Sometimes you get Odin. You'll probably disband, but if you can try to help people out, that's the whole point of being a mentor. And unfortunately, that's not what we really care about in our community. It's not really been a thing, and that's because, um, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there was much thought given to the system. It was just something added to the game because they've been adding things left and right in patches. There's almost always something new every couple months, every 3 to 6 months. But this wasn't really something that one we're rewarded for because lore is nice. That mount is nice. That's a ton of effort. Like the mount is, I don't even remember how many you need. Do you remember how many runs you need?
It's like 2,000 runs or something like that. So it's a significant amount for a mount.
That's crazy. I think I'm on like maybe 30 or 40 runs since it came out. That's crazy. But yeah, it's just something that doesn't really, other than the self-satisfaction, the satisfaction you get from setting your own ideals, there's no real reward from it. So that turns a lot of people off for it.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I'm trying to find that achievement so I could see. Yeah, it's 2,000. I'm at 3.
There's there's a lot of okay, let's talk. So we've been talking about the um, mentor system, and I think to keep with the theme of our today's show, do you have any stories from mentors that you've seen that you wanna share?
Uh, mentors, I have seen more bad than good, unfortunately. There's been a couple of times where I'll run just, my normal 50, 60 expert roulettes and stuff like that. And, we'll have a player say, hey, this is my first time trying this class out. I'm not going to do big pools if that's all right with everyone. 95% of the time, everyone's like, all right, cool, man, not a problem. But there's been a couple of times where I've had mentors say, oh, you suck. You are a scrub. You shouldn't be playing anymore. Don't even come back. Don't even try to take this. I'm just going to leave. We're going to vote abandon. All these horrible things. And we haven't even gotten to the first boss pool. Like, we're still standing there idle waiting for to get protect or just waiting in general. And, we have all had those bad stories of just mentors just wanting to rush everyone and expect everyone to be the best at their job immediately, even though some people just unlocked it, got it to 60, and had gear setting around, and they wanted to try it. They want to try something new. There was, what was it? In Great Google Library, I was Dark Knight, and we had a new healer in there, and there was a mentor DPS. I don't remember that person's name or what class, but he was saying, I'm new to this dungeon as a healer. Would you mind doing small pools so that way I don't get overwhelmed and we all wipe? Yeah, man, not a problem. I got you. Don't worry about it. And this mentor DPS just starts, he blew a fuse, just straight lays into this poor healer saying, oh, you suck. You shouldn't be doing this. You should know how to heal by this level. All this other stuff. And I'm just like, dude, chill, man. Like, I don't have an issue with it. The other DPS doesn't have an issue with it. If you don't like it, you can leave. And he just keeps going on a tirade, and he's not even moving. He's like, well, you're going to have to vote kick me. I'm not going to take the penalty. So we took our sweet time. It took us about 45 minutes to get the clear, and he's just still standing up front. And he just sat there and bitched the entire time about everything. You name it, he was complaining about it. That was one of the more miserable run-ins I've had with the mentor system. I mean, other than that, There's been a couple times in low level dungeons where just the mentors were just assholes of the sprouts, and that was it. Like, I decided at that point I didn't really care for the mentor system. For those people wearing the crowns, thinking they're all high and mighty. What about you, PJ?
Ah, well, I'm gonna open with me being a bad mentor one time. Um, because I ended up in what's the first dungeon where we have uh Diablos.
The first,
Forgotten no.
Amdapor City.
Okay, Amdapor City. Um, I joined a party, and thankfully, I don't know, maybe thankfully is not the right word, but I joined on Mental Roulette, and they were at the final boss. I don't know what happened to their last healer, but either they DC'd. Well, I guess I kind of know. So they were 2/3 of the way through the dungeon. They were gonna be on their last boss, and just I think the DPS in the party was super low, like ridiculously low. Um, even though the tank was doing small pulls, and I was DPSing. Like I was DPSing as a white mage because I prefer doing, um, just because it's more it's so consistent from level 10 to level 60. Whereas Scholar at level 50 is just and Astro at anything lower than 30 is so boring. So for Mental Roulette, I'll go as a white mage just because I usually have almost all the tools I need, um, and it's more fun to play. So I'm going as a white mage, and I'm DPSing as a white mage. I'm not even spamming holy, but I'm DPSing as a white mage, and I'm running out of MP. That's how long single group pulls took, or maybe on occasion double group pulls. So that's already the first warning sign, but I figured I'd just deal with it. People were trying. I think there was a ninja, and I don't play ninja, or at least I'm working on it. I'm at like 47, and I don't know quite enough yet. I know a couple things. I actually I know, I've memorized how to do 3 different mudras. Actually, 4 technically. The fourth one's a special one. I know the lightning one. The shuriken's super easy, so I don't count that. I know Dotan and I know Suiton, and that's it. That's all I know. And I know the bunny because everyone knows the bunny. You just screw it up. But so that's all I know about ninja. So I don't. I was in no position to tell them anything about what they were doing. In fact, I didn't even really know what they were doing. And I think the other one was a bard that just I'm not even sure what they were doing, but the DPS was super low because even though I was DPSing, it took forever to kill the groups, and I was running low on MP, keeping the tank up as well as DPSing, to the point where I would stop DPSing just so I could conserve mana and only keep the tank up. And then that was pretty dreadful. But we continued through, and I gave them a couple pointers. I knew enough about the bard to tell them that they could AoE more, but they'd eventually run out of TP, and then they could play their TP song to recover some for themselves. But that's not a silver bullet for how slow the run was doing. And then for Ninja, I almost recommended him doing the what was it called? What's the AoE move for Ninja? Uh,
Death Blossom.
Death Blossom. I almost recommended that, but then I remembered it was like 50 potency, and it basically was just super bad.
Yeah, if you use Death Blossom with Doton, it's fairly potent, but I mean, it's going to be slow and slim pickings at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, the only time I ever use that is when it's a group of like 5 or 4 more.
Yeah,
So,
like a massive pull, right? Yeah, no, we had like maybe 4 mobs, maybe 5 on occasion, but it was not really worth it, I don't think. Uh, so I was trying to give a couple pointers for DPS and through that, but mostly it was just, all right, let's get through this, let's figure it out. The tank was doing fine, um, and we finally make it to the last boss, and uh, so I was like just an okay mentor so far because I didn't really have any real good. I felt kind of bad because I was not really enjoying it because it was a long run, and I think the party had already been in there for like 30 minutes. So that's how long it took by the time I got in, and we continued. It took another like 10 minutes to finish to get to the end, and they're doing a little bit better, and I feel like we're doing better. I felt comfortable about the last boss, and I told them the mechanics. I told them, you know what? Let me take care of this, because I thought I knew exactly what I was doing, and I kind of did. I kind of understood the mechanics. I just forgot one crucial point of it, and the problem was I took I took it upon myself to handle the gates, and I said I explained how you have to open the matching gates so that we get sucked in and we don't get hit by his cast, right? The part that I forgot was the timing, or at least half of it, because I only remembered that you should open the second gate about 60% through the cast, 60 to 75%. And I forgot that you really need two people to do it, unless the gates are really close to each other. So because we learned the hard way. I tried. If you look at the boss arena as a clock, the gate I was opening, the pair, one was at 6 o'clock and one is at around 1 o'clock. I opened the 6 o'clock one when the cast started, and then I booked it to the 1 o'clock one. I even sprinted, and I waited. I got there, and I got there around 50%, and I waited just a second to open up the second gate. And as soon as I did that, I look over to the first one, and it had already closed. And it was basically the timing was off, and you really need two people. So, needless to say, without telling them more about the mechanics, we ended up wiping because we couldn't really tell them. It was difficult to tell them over chat to which door to open, and I'll get the other one because I was already trying to keep up with damage from the vulnerabilities we took from me screwing up the first time. So we started again. I explained it. I asked the bard, who is actually really helpful, or actually really, what's the word I'm looking for? Not receptive. He was willing to learn. He was just a friendly guy. He was just a friendly person that was willing to learn how to change things up and get better and do mechanics. So he ended up opening the gate for me, and we eventually got it right. We figured it. We got the timing down, and they thanked everyone for doing that and said sorry it took so long. But at least I walked away from that kind of feeling good, but also kind of feeling like if I'm going to do mentor roulette, I gotta make sure that I'm ready to mentor, right? So like I gotta be in the mindset myself to actually be willing to help and not just go for lore, because sometimes it takes a lot of effort or at least a lot of patience to deal with situations like those. Like
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I will Google, like even if I have the mentor up, I will Google a guide for whatever dungeon if I don't remember the mechanics perfectly, because I don't want to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I agree entirely with you. For the most part, I remember a lot of those mechanics from those old dungeons as it is. So I mean, stuff like that comes back to me relatively quick. But man, I think they need to work on the mentor system a little bit more. That way, you can have either two mentors in there and two green leaves, or mentor and three green leaves, depending on the dungeon. Something so that way, if you don't know exactly what it is, you've got backup there, especially in the later dungeons and the later raids and stuff like that, so you don't have the issues that we've ran into before where you forget mechanics to certain fights because you haven't been there in 6 months, 7 months, or whatever it was the last time you ran it. I just think there needs to be a little bit more of a fail-safe to it, but I think it'll work itself out eventually. Like you said, it has taken a backseat to all your other dailies and everything else. So,
well, it's also taken a backseat in terms of like just getting any attention from the devs. Like, when was the last time we got
Yeah.
any updates about the mentor system? Because I was talking in the novice network, and I was reminding people to reminding the new leaves to the green leaves to try to do their roulettes with mentors or party up if possible for fates, because you get that bonus XP. However, you only get it to level 20, and it's it's like arbitrary limits like that that don't really help the mentor system. Like, what's the point of limiting it at 20? Because we all know once you get to level 20, you still don't know anything really about your class. You don't really know anything until you get to like 40, sometimes even 50, because you get crucial things. In some classes, once you get past 50 or 51, and you start trying to relearn your rotation, like, you don't really know the new rotation until you get to 60 or 58 at the minimum. So arbitrary limits like that hamper how much the mentor system can actually help. And really, as much as I'd love to say that all we need is to be friendly with each other and have satisfaction in helping each other, that's not quite enough. That's not really how the world always works, and it's always good to reward people for this type of good behavior. So doing the mentor system, doing anything with it, removing stuff like getting rid of that XP bonus limit, or maybe even rewarding more gil for it, right? That'd be, I don't know if people would start.
Yeah, people would start spamming it for that
Yeah.
extra. But I mean, say you go in, like I use Mentor Roulette as a leveling thing, as well as my level 50 and trials for my white mage or whatever class I'm leveling up at that point in time. And I think maybe an experience boost or something like that would be more helpful, like you said, to so it's not as detrimental to have mentors and stuff like that go in there
Yeah,
and try to help people.
and maybe a better tier, a better reward system. So I almost said guild, and I realized I don't really want people spamming mentor related stuff to get guild. But there's still got to be some sort of reward, something probably cosmetic like titles, something, or even glamour stuff that doesn't require 2,000 mentor roulette runs to do, right? Like 10, 50, 100, 200, 500 different levels instead of just one at 2,000 would have been nice for the mentor roulette.
Right, exactly. I mean, they gave you that point system for the achievements or whatever the hell it is. I mean, it's completely useless to me. But
Oh,
other than that, there's no.
are you talking about second chance points? Are pretty nice,
Well,
actually.
yes, the second chance points are nice, but I'm talking about the achievement points that you get that go towards your FC or whatever the hell it is for getting
Oh,
achievements and stuff like that. I mean, there's no real other than having that. Oh yeah, I got all these achievements done. There's no real point to it, which is really upsetting because I figured, hey, you're going to have implement the mentor system. You're going to want to have something else other than, you run this damn thing 2,000 times and then you get a mount. All right, so from 5 to 2,000, there's really nothing special to it. There's no incentive to run it or anything like that. So, I mean, it kind of defeats the purpose, if you ask me.
yeah. Well, hopefully they'll get something out of it, because I'm tired of hearing the horror stories that come from mentors. Because usually the mentors I know they're a fairly decent bunch. We've got our occasional assholes of people who are just being rude or not really a mentor, and they just happen to get it because they have a tank, a healer, and a DPS at level 60. And I forgot. I think they laxed the requirements. Like, I think now it's just
Yeah.
having the classes, whereas before it was having the classes, as well as battle crafting and gathering. I think you needed I can't. Actually, you know what? I don't want to
You
say a
needed
specific
one of
number.
every class to 60. So you needed one crafter to 60, one gatherer to 60, one healer, one tank, and one DPS to 60, as well as it was like 1,000 dungeons or 1,000
Yeah.
runs or something like that, if I remember correctly.
So I can see them. I can see them. I can see them laxing it, making it lax because that is quite a lot to require. And if really it's just maybe you're a really good dragoon or ninja and you just want to help other dragoons and ninja, maybe that's enough, to become a battle mentor. You just want to be good at, or you just want to be able to talk about being a dragoon or ninja, and you don't need a weaver at 60 and miner at 60 just to get that status. If they had a different way to apply for the status, like how we apply for guilds right now for FCs where you get signatures? If you could meet the commendation requirement, which I think was 500, but I think they removed it, and then also submit an application to the Hall of the Novice, and you had signed like 10 people who said you would be a decent mentor, that would be nice in restricting how many people have the mentor icon and who are part of the mentor system because um, before I'm not gonna lie, for a little while, I had the novice network off. Like I just didn't want to be a mentor, but I had it. I was because I had tank healer DPS and crafting and gathering. I already had it. I had 1,000 dungeon runs. I had the comms required, and the only thing missing was me having the mentality of I want to be a mentor.
You see, I was the opposite. I didn't have the crafter to 60, but I had almost all my battle classes to 60 that I needed. And I wanted to be a mentor. I wanted to help, the sprouts and stuff like that. I wanted to help the community progress and get better, but I couldn't because I didn't meet, I didn't have my healer to 60 or I didn't have my crafting class to 60, which I thought was, kind of a complete and utter bullshit tier tactic on their part because I think I make a halfway decent mentor, trying to help people and figure this game out, especially when they're new. And this game can get pretty overwhelming at points and times when you don't know what the hell is going on, you don't have anyone teaching you, or you have no general idea of what is happening, and you're just kind of going through the motions hoping for the best. Which, I mean, why a lot of these horror stories even come about is because a lot of people didn't have the option to have people teach them. Or if they did, they had a terrible teacher and they didn't have any other type of information to go back against on to double check to make sure that they're being taught correctly. Like a couple times I ran into tanks who just absolutely refused to use cooldowns. And then they just make life hell on the poor healers, and the entire party suffers at that point.
Yeah, it's really hard to empower. Well, okay, so one of the awesome parts of it being a social game is the ability to empower your players to grow community, like the things like for instance, the fanfic community and the people who support us in this show and the events that we do and the events like the PvP tournament or the most recent one, the hide and go seek cops and robbers tournament. All of it is basically hide and seek. Uh, like all of that, that's not, no, very little of that is from in-game mechanics. It was stuff that we, the players, came up with. So the idea of developers empowering their community or their players by either providing them the tools or providing them the ability to be rewarded for coming up with these things. Like right now, we take satisfaction in being a community, doing events, playing together. We take a satisfaction in that. And occasionally, not occasionally, we've done it a lot. There are guild rewards, there are prizes like items, and that's stuff we come up with. So in a way, they have empowered us that way, where we can run stuff and reward people via guild and other things, but we can't do anything like that really, or at least we haven't really done it when it comes to less tangible things like helping new players. And that's really one thing where the game it feels kind of weird where it's on one hand it feels like the game is trying to do it, but on the other hand it feels like it's not really trying to do it. So it's got Hall of the Novice, which is great, but it doesn't really teach you anything, and the gear is all right, but like other than the experience boost and from the ring, and I guess learning how to dodge AoE is really, although the Hall of the Novice wasn't even really that hard, and you would learn how to do all that stuff through your main story quest anyways. All the gear you get from it could easily be gotten from any random. It doesn't even have to be a person in your FC. Like I remember I used to do it. A couple other people used to do it. We would make gear for newer players, right? Like a level 10, we'd give them a new weapon or an entire gear set, or because it was really easy to do. And usually that stuff is as good as, if not better, than what you can get out of Hall of the Novice. Because I think that gear is only good until like level 20. Except for the ring, you should hold on to the ring till 30 because the experience boost is awesome. But like, it didn't really give us anything that the community didn't already do. You know, it would be nice if we could come up with I don't know, like ways to teach people how to dodge AoEs or to do mechanics, because we can give other players gear, but I can't teach you how to get out of an AoE. I can't teach you how to tank swap. I can't teach you how to do snap aggro. I can't teach you how to burst DPS, or switch between single target and an AoE while still preserving MP or TP, like stuff like that. We don't really have ways to teach someone other than like really, really difficult things to do. Like if I'm putting a new static together, one of the first things I think of is doing Odin while level and item synced, right? So it's not very difficult, but it's also not face roll. But we don't really have that, and you need 8 people to do that. Because trying to teach it unsync is not, it might kind of work dodging AoEs, but um, you need a lot of people to do that. Like imagine trying to get 7 other people together to teach one person. You know, that's really difficult.
Right, it's just chaos because you're going to have conflicting ideas, and he should be doing this at this point, or this person should be doing this at this point.
It's
There's
also
no real way to teach people how to do end game rating without taking them in there and wiping for 45 minutes. And even then, it's not guaranteed that they're going to learn the mechanics or what to do, which
yeah
is really kind of scary because, at end game rating, you should know a little bit about you should know enough about your job and what you're going to be doing at that point in time in that fight to where you're not going to completely wipe everyone else.
yeah
I think they need to implement something like that.
it's just a lot of effort. Like it's too much effort required to do that. Like that's not fun anymore. That's not there are some people that really enjoy that. There may be a group of 7 people who really enjoy that and actually enjoy taking a completely random person in, or maybe it's a friend and they teach them for an hour. Just one person. 7 people spending an hour of their time helping one person get better at something. That may be fun for them, but that's not fun for everyone. Um, and I have trouble finding people to do stuff like that. Like I enjoy it once in a while. I wouldn't do it every day, but sometimes it's fun to learn new things. That A4S run, that was fun to do. But
Yes,
yeah,
it was absolutely.
the the horror stories we see, unfortunately, are a mix of just the natural tendency of humans. We shit on each other all the time, and the game not really rewarding or having enough to um, I guess teach the kind of things that we should know. Because there was, on top of the horror story threads on Reddit, there was another thread I think today I saw that was or maybe last night, that was about things you didn't know until like level 60 that you wish you knew. And sometimes you get little things like, oh, I didn't know you could play Cactpot. I didn't know there was a gold saucer. Um, that stuff wasn't so bad, but I remember a guy who didn't know that Duty Finder was a thing, and he was at like level 45
What?
or almost 50. Like they
How do
never,
you go?
I don't,
How do you? How?
like they fate farming and literally standing at the dungeon entrance to do their Duty Finder stuff. Like you know how you can enter through the Duty Finder once you've unlocked it, or you could stand at the dungeon, which is the more traditional way to do it. I think they just did that all the way through. Like they didn't do any guild tests. They didn't do, um, yeah, they just didn't know about it. They didn't know about the experience boost bonus. Um, they clearly didn't do guild test related stuff, which actually do teach you things once in a while. Like it just requires you to kind of pay attention to the mechanics or things that are going on. Guild test was also kind of like Hall of the Novice beta or something, like a tiny sliver of it. But yeah, so we get stuff like that, and then we get players who, and here we go again with the excuse, the "you don't pay my sub, I will play how I want," and the I think the common and pretty funny retort of, yeah, but you're one person and there are 7 to 23 other people who also pay their sub and don't want you to play like that.
Yes. There was one time. I think I was with you. I think it was me, you, and Milo. We were running our expert roulette when what was it? Sorkai was still new, and we had that certified ice mage who just refused to cast fire. He would just cast Blizzard 3 and Thunder over and over and over. And our DPS was so low. We tried talking to him. No, I don't want to do that. You don't pay my sub. All right, well, bye, guy. We ended up vote kicking him because he didn't want to do anything. He didn't want to listen to us. He didn't want to take advice. Those
I think
are
that's an actual you did the vote kick, right? I think that's what did how did you report it? Uh harassment or not harassment, but basically
no. God, what was I can't even remember.
the idea that conflicting playstyles is a legitimate excuse to vote kick someone.
I don't remember what I did. Hold on, let me see. I'll pull up the vote kick.
You have
Can I
that?
pull that up?
You have the did you take a screenshot?
No, no, no. I was trying to think of if I could pull up the vote kick thing.
Oh, okay. I don't think you can do it.
No, not without being in an instance. But yeah, I mean, just one of those things that was very frustrating because we were trying to get it done before reset, and this guy didn't want to take. He didn't want to listen. He took his time, which is fine and dandy. I don't care about taking your time, but if you're going to do that, at least listen to the 3 other people telling you, "Hey, do it this way. Do it this way." And he just didn't. He absolutely refused to, which is really kind of frustrating, especially for us trying to get it done before reset, so that way we didn't have to scramble at the last minute, or because we were scrambling at the last minute to get it done. Who's this
Yeah.
scrub in here?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's Mike. Is Mike in here?
No. Yeah, it is Mike in here.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've talked about players, horror stories, problems with the mentor system, all those bad things, elitist players, stuff like that. So everything from the beginning of the game to end game related stuff. There's just we've got our fair share. Like this is not unique to this game. This is not unique to Final Fantasy. This is a this is a problem that every MMO faces. Basically, any game with any type of community. The community could be 12 people, or it could be 12,000 people, or it could be 12 million, and there's going to be situations like these. So it's not a unique thing. But what is unique is how it will be what kind of tools we get from the developers to deal with stuff like this. And we already talked about the small tweaks to the mentor system that would be nice to see. We talked about on a earlier show when we were talking about the anima, it would be nice if there was which real quick aside, the last anima step, the 260. On one hand, it's really nice that it was
Stupid easy.
super simple, super easy. I'm collecting more clusters just because, like, it's as simple as going to Idleshire and taking the quest and doing your normal weekly and daily things, right? Expert and leveling. Was it 3 leveling a week and 1 expert a day? And I've already got like
Yes.
another 20 something 30 clusters that I'm probably never going to use, but I'm just holding on to them in case I do want to eventually. Just I'm starting to look at glamours, but that's a lot. I'm going to wait for nerfs. I'm going to wait for nerfs the earlier steps before I start doing anima steps for glamour, cuz the machinist weapon looks so good. It's like it looks like a Gatling gun.
I'm looking forward to the Dark Knight weapon.
The Soul Calibur, Soul Edge looking weapon.
Yes, the guillotine as a tyrant. That thing looks amazing.
That looks good. So yeah, but I'm waiting till they nerf the earlier steps, the Umbright and the just the rest. The 210 to 240 still sucks. But yeah, if they had we had talked about the light system, if they were going to bring that back, if we could at least earn light from attempting to do things, right? Like just things that would encourage new people who are players to do new things together, like taking a learning party in Nidhogg X, right? Like right now, be honest. If I were to say, let's put up a party finder to do a learning party for Nidhogg Expert, Nidhogg Extreme, and we are allowing any new people who haven't even done people who haven't read any guides or going in completely blind or people who haven't or are nearly cleared, like we're gonna let in anyone. What are the chances of us doing that, like, or and enjoying it, and or people joining and getting enough interest? Um, because there's no, unfortunately, once more, other than our own satisfaction and potentially making friends and helping the community, other than those like do good that do good mentality, there's no tangible reward that the game gives us. It would be nice if we got some sort of partial credit for attempting, like, you know, lasting. It's kind of like the echo. If you can get the echo in a fight, you get rewarded for your attempt in light.
Right, that would be something that would. I mean, like you said, not a lot of people want to go into, say, Nidhogg EX and try to teach people who haven't cleared it yet. Because that's a pain in the ass fight, I'll be honest. I didn't really care too much for it when it was relevant. I don't care too much for it now. I mean, even though I could go in there, farm it, whatever, it's cool, easy peasy, but it's not on my top. It's not on the top of my list to go in there and take a brand new party in there and try to teach everyone where to go, where to stand, who's doing what at what time, when you're provoking, when you're tank swapping, all this stuff. There's just a lot of information to try to teach, and especially people like, I'm all for people not wanting to watch videos. They want to go in blind and learn it, but at a certain point, once it gets old enough, you need to go watch the video for it, unfortunately, because you're just going to hold people back at that point in time, and it's not fair to the 7 other people who are wanting to learn it and clear it, but they can't because they've got someone who didn't want to watch the video because they don't believe in watching videos.
Yes. So see, that's another, actually talking about videos. That's a great example of another thing that players have done that the game itself doesn't really directly reward them for. Some YouTubers do it for because it's for the fame, or they get money from it. Like it's their thing. Like they get paid through advertisements, and it's actually income for them, and it's worth doing. Um, None of that, however, comes through the game directly. It's just we are lucky, or they're lucky that they are actually getting something out of it if they're getting advertisements or money from advertisements, because um, there's no reward for putting out guides from the game. And in a way, you could look at that system as them being mentors, because really they are. They're teaching people. They're taking the time to go through mechanics, go through guides. Um, they don't really go to the same level of like teaching someone how to Dragoon, which is pretty simple. Just tell them to stand in AoEs. Um, and instead, they're teaching the fights, which is a little bit easier to do than a one-on-one basis, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a couple there's while there's not always exactly one exact strategy that you need to do in order to beat a fight, there are
Mm-hmm.
limited strategies. There are requirements that must be met. So you could create a guide around that, which is a little bit easier than this is how you Dragoon. This is how you Dragoon in this fight. This is how you play Dark Knight in this fight. Like
Right.
um like if you were to teach another Dark Knight how to tank, you would teach them the basic rotations, right? What cooldowns
Yep.
work together, not popping blood price and the dark dance one, the dodging one, like not popping those
Mm-hmm.
together. That's the basics of the Dark Knight. But then there's for every fight, like for instance right now in the creator tier, every fight is different. You don't pop cooldowns at the same time, right? So if you're going
Right.
to teach them A9S or A10S or A11, whatever fight it is, whatever fight you're doing, you're teaching them something different every time.
Uh-huh. Because every fight is going to be different, and everyone's going to, tweak things at certain points to benefit them and their group more at that
Yes.
point in time.
So it's even different. Like when I subbed in for you, I had to make a lot of changes in what I expected because your group did it differently, right? So I
Yep.
was, you know, I dragooned into an AoE um, a couple times, but like that's an example of how different it is every time. Even though, um, yeah, you got 9 and 10 on farm, and that's no problem when I play as scholar. But just changing the mentality of another class, another group, almost a completely different fight from my point of view.
Oh, absolutely, and that's another thing that a lot of people don't understand. What my old group, we were learning A9S, and we couldn't find an off tank because ours was having an issue with his account at that point in time, and on FamFrit, decent tanks are hard to find. So because all the good ones are already in groups, or there's people who just haven't quite learned the class, or they're just returning to the game, but they're good tanks, but they don't have the eye level to get in. So we were using Raid Finder, and we had this tank who just absolutely refused. He was a warrior, and he refused to be the off tank. He's like, no, I want to main tank. I learned this fight as a main tank. We're like, dude, there's 7 more of us. I'm always the main tank because I played Dark Knight, and I was the main tank for my old group. And no, I learned to fight this way. We're gonna do it this way. We're like, no, dude, you're going to do the fight how we want it. It is 7-on-1. It's back to that mentality of, well, you don't pay my sub, you don't tell me what to do type thing. We ended up voting abandon and waiting like 10 minutes, and lo and behold, guess who's in there with us again? The same tank. We run into the same issues. He just didn't care to listen to us. And it's very frustrating, especially when you're a group trying to learn fights, and you run into people who just absolutely refuse to try to adapt to other people. And it's just frustrating at that point in time. We ended up uh, we didn't even get too much further. I didn't even think we got past Faust after he dropped. We were doing other things at that point, so we ended up wiping for about an hour and a half, and then we just called it a night because there was just no point in trying to go into Raid Finder and trying to reteach someone else something. It just
Yeah,
wasn't fun.
yeah, and you definitely gotta. If you're not having fun, you gotta figure out why you're playing or why you're doing that. So, all right.
Exactly.
Well, I guess to kind of wrap things up, I want to move from our player-driven horror stories and game mechanic-driven horror stories to the actual game itself. And this was a gripe that I had that I wanted to bring up, and I'm glad you put it in the document. That is the last point. Um, the story. Sometimes the story is like so the story is really good most of the time. I really enjoyed the Alexander raid. Like it wasn't we had the discussion where it wasn't as amazing as the coils because it didn't have as much of an impact. It was literally so spoilers. I'm gonna tag this right now or warn you for spoilers if you care about the lore of Alexander and haven't finished it for some reason. Get out or stop listening for I don't know maybe a minute or two. Check back every minute or so. And actually, if you're watching the stream, I'm going to put on a loading screen. There we go, the loading screen. There's Harper. So I'm gonna have the screen up while I'm actually gonna make something for this. While spoilers are happening, I'm gonna have an image up. So now that I have this up, the Alexander story, it is quite literally the is it the word epitome I'm looking for? No. It is quite literally one of the best examples of a story or an arc that happened that didn't matter at all to the storyline. Didn't matter at all other than you did it. Because the whole point of the Alexander storyline was it being summoned, and I'm using air quotes here, and deciding that Alexander itself deciding that it shouldn't even exist and that the Warriors of Light are supposed to get rid of it, and that's what we end up doing. We go through all this time loop within another time loop within an even bigger time loop, which was a crazy story, which was awesome because it was primarily orchestrated by a cat.
It's like Inception in Final Fantasy.
Yes. but they literally like you can polish a turd as much as you want. In the end, it's still a turd. This entire story was a story of how the story how it doesn't even matter because it removed itself. Like that's the whole point. Alexander shows up, we kill it. It decides it's not supposed to be there, and it works itself in such a way that it as if it never even existed. So end of spoilers. I'm turning the screen off. It's very different from coils because coils meant it's still you see the impact every single day, right? It's part of the main storyline. It was big, it was cataclysmic. It has an effect on it had an effect on the geography of Eorzea. It had effects on all the characters. It has a lingering presence. Whereas Alexander is it's basically as if it never happened.
Correct. And I guess, like you said, that's probably a lot of the reason why I personally like Coils a lot more than the Alexander raids. But,
Yeah,
like you said, it had something to do with the main storyline, and it was, something that you wanted to clear. You had oh, God, what's the word I'm looking for? You had the incentive to clear it. Like, it was the final chapter before moving on, I guess you could say, closing that chapter in, the history of Eorzea and being able to say that, you killed Bahamut. And that was something that was amazing, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Like I said, Alexander just wasn't, it was just kind of meh.
So
I did it.
So that's the point. That was a great story, right? Even Alexander was a pretty great story, regardless of, whether it was better than Coils or not. It was still a pretty good story. However, on the opposite end, sometimes we get crap. We get the usual MMO crap of side quests, which is go pick these apples for me because I want my kid to have them, and I can't leave this farm until I'm done working. So if you could please, Warrior of Light, Savior of Eorzea, go like 30 yalms away and pick 8 apples for me, right? Great storytelling, and then somewhere in the middle we get jeez, I'm gonna do it again. Spoilers again. I'm putting up the damn screen. So if you guys haven't finished the storyline for whatever reason, because you're a new player or you don't play the game, And if you don't play the game, I don't know why you're listening to this. Uh, the Sultana storyline, the whole arc in Ulda, which happened after 2.4, I believe, or 2.5, 2.55, and it opened up Heaven's Ward, and it overall it was pretty good in the sense that it had a lot of good characters. There was lore behind it, there was reasoning, like it made sense what was going on. There was a bit of mystery, there was a bit of it was serious and enjoyable. However, the ending, that's my gripe. So spoiler alert for the ending of it. The screen is up. The screen will stay up until it's gone. Um, we see the Sultana drinking from a cup and presumably dying because what happens when you drink from a cup and fall over? You're probably dead. And then the whole storyline after that went on with the presumption that she was dead and that Raban raged and he went berserk because of it. Quick aside, Kane.
He gave his left arm. He gave his left arm.
Yes, he gave his left arm. Quick aside, conversations about speculation for the new jobs, Red Mage, Blue Mage, Dancer, blah blah blah. First off, I think it was Red Mage and Dancer, which was the top contenders right now. But on top of that, Raban has every marking of a what was it? Of a Blue Mage? Was it Blue Mage? Damn it, I forgot. I think it was Blue Mage because like his weapon, the fight against him, the weapon he uses, the name of the skill, like everything points to being a Blue Mage or a Red Mage. I forgot. I'm sorry. It's one of the two. But he might actually be the prime example of the new class that we're gonna get, which would be pretty cool. Actually, it'd be pretty cool if he was like our trainer. That would be pretty sweet.
It would be pretty cool, but didn't they say they're not going to be adding any new job classes in 4.0?
No, they're not adding classes. They're adding jobs. So the whole idea
Okay.
of classes like Arcanist and
Oh, right,
Hunter and all
right,
that, they're
right.
not adding any of those, but they will be adding jobs. They're adding 2 jobs, and I think
Okay.
they're going to show. Okay, I'm gonna turn the screen off. They're going to show one in no screen
FanFest
share.
Tokyo or London, correct? Or did
Yes.
London already happen?
No, it didn't. But they're gonna show one at each of the fan fests coming up. One's in December and then one's next year sometime. I think one's in
Okay.
December. But yeah. So I put the screen down prematurely, but it's back up. So Raban did all that. We think she's dead, and lo and behold, at the end of the entire storyline, she was actually just asleep from a potent sleeping potion.
Yeah, she's a sleeping little potato. She should have had her head lopped off after that.
Like I don't even.
It's frustrating. They pulled at your heartstrings thinking that the little Sultana potato died, and then, no, hey, guess what? We fooled you.
Yeah.
Joke's on you, jackass.
So I know I'm complaining about little things that aren't even really worth complaining about, but sometimes I care about the story. I care about the lasting impact it has, and the whole pulling joke they're not really dead, like that trope, that entire thing.
Uh-huh.
It's not really overplayed because that doesn't happen often. Well, it kind of does, like La Brea,
Just not in MMOs.
Yeah, it's just it's got to be done. It's kind of like doing it tastefully, right? You can. It's kind of
Hmm.
like. So I'm gonna shit on DC a little bit here. They actually no, both they and Marvel constantly kill people and bring them back. DC more, I would say, but killing
Yes.
people and bringing them back. Even DBZ, really off topic here. Did you see Super yet?
I did not.
Oh man,
I
you
will
need to see
watch
it.
it later.
I sent you a code if you need it, but yeah, that was I don't know how to feel about it. But the whole idea of killing someone off and then bringing them back, it just diminishes the whole point of like what's the point of them dying?
Right. I completely understand. It's really frustrating. Oh, goodness. But, I don't know. Do we have anything else?
Uh, no, that's pretty much wrapping it up.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just tonight was just us kind of venting about
Yes.
shitty things, horror stories, players, mechanics.
Everything and
Yeah.
everything that you can.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys for listening to today's show of us, I guess, being grumpy old men. I guess that's the best way to put it today. Um,
Yeah.
I know it was a weird timing, and we literally announced it right as we're streaming it. But this week was been weird. Last week was weird. Next week's also going to be incredibly weird. I don't think we're going to have a show.
Okay. Works
Cause
for me. It gives us time to create content, stuff like that.
yeah, I mean, it's a holiday weekend. There's a whole lot going on.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, I think we need to take next week off, enjoy the holidays with our family, stuff like that. Go
yeah.
enjoy ourselves.
But hopefully we'll come back with solid plans. Like our ideas right now are interviews with people, bring more people onto the show. So if you have any interest in coming in and talking to us, let us know
Hmm.
through Facebook, Twitter, or in game. And yeah, there's some cool stuff coming up, I think. But for
Hmm.
now, just take it easy, guys. All right, take it easy, Kane.
Yep. You guys have a good night. We will see you in about 2 weeks or so. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, all that fun stuff, just let me and Bell know. And that's it for the night. Have a good night.
All right, good night, guys.